Alrighty, hello and welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 483. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Matt Lawrence is here. How you doing, Matt?
I am here. Greetings.
Having a good day?
Yeah.
Excited for that weekend?
Sure.
Okay. Tim Spence is also here.
What is this? Some sort of like you're both standing in line in the barber shop conversation?
Yeah.
Like you don't know each other at all? So how about that weekend coming up?
Yeah. The classic, how's the weather? You know, how you liking this weather right now, Matt?
How is the weather?
Little
dry.
Few drizzles here and there. It's a little wet over here.
Opposite of dry.
Actually, it's the earliest year in my knowledge that we've had to use a dehumidifier. Already hit 68% humidity in the basement. It's kind of wild.
A couple of days ago, it was kind of nasty out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The world's burning and we're all going to hell.
Tim,
how's
how
it
you
going,
doing,
Ryan?
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
Yeah, it's all right. There you go.
Matt, you got us a video game fun fact.
I do indeed, actually.
To start us off.
All right. Someone, I don't know, drum roll or theme song me in.
No.
Okay.
Fun facts with Matt. Fun facts with Matt. Here we go.
And here we go, indeed. This one is not about Fallout. I was going to do another Fallout one because Fallout Fever is still in about 80% effect, I would say, at this point.
It's still high, yeah.
It's still high, yeah. The fever's still high, and I got it. Uranium fever has gone and got me down.
God damn it.
But no, this is an historical video game fun fact, and not meaning that I'm about to make history, although history is made every day. But I'm gonna be talking about.
You're canceled, Matt. I'm canceling you right now.
What I'm gonna be talking about is something old, and it is the first commercial arcade video game. So the reason why I brought this one up is because I know that you and I, Ryan, when we were looking up fun facts in the old format on Fact Retriever, we had talked about Pong. We had also talked about the Magnavox Odyssey, and we'd also talked about this prototype console that was known as, I believe, the brown box. So I decided to look up, what is actually the first commercially successful, or I shouldn't say commercially successful. What's the first commercial video game? And the very first commercial arcade video game specifically was a game actually just called Computer Space. It was designed for use in public spaces, of course, spaces that we would now know, or we all know, as video game arcades. And its gameplay was a little bit standard, but kind of the controls were unique, and I'll get into that. So players controlled a rocket ship, and of course it was 2D. It looks from the pictures like a CRT monitor, in sort of in an arcade cabinet that you could recognize as an arcade cabinet, but it's still definitely, if you look at it, you're definitely going to go, okay, that's a Gen 1 product. Like, this is definitely not something that they've figured out how to do fully quite yet. But anyway, this 2D space was navigated using some innovative controls, and I'm going to get into that in a second. And as you navigated around the map, the world was filled with flying saucers in which the player was supposed to shoot those flying saucers down while avoiding incoming fire. And there was a bit of physics in this game, and I'm not saying there was necessarily a physics engine. I didn't get into all that, but the player's rocket actually had momentum, and they had to, of course, aim and shoot and dodge and all the rest of it because of this momentum as they're kind of floating through space, if you will. Now, you might be thinking, with the description of this game, that this game is going to be pretty standard. Joystick, couple buttons maybe, that type of thing. No, not the case. No joystick on this thing at all. It was simply a control panel filled with buttons. So they had a couple of buttons for rotational movement, meaning left and right. There was also a thrust button in which you were always propelling forward, of course, initiating the thrusters on your spaceship. There was also a shoot button, or a fire button, and this would shoot missiles at the enemy saucers. And again, no joystick. That was it. That's all you got. That's how the controls were back then. And it's probably one of the most jarring things when I looked at the cabinet was the controls look really strange. It almost looks like a very old TV remote control that they just sort of like stuck on there. Now it looks nicer than it just being stuck on there, but it definitely doesn't look like a modern control scheme. And I never really realized until seeing this how much the sort of classic arcade controls make the look of an arcade machine.
Do you have a picture, or can I look it up?
Yeah, you can look it up. Computer Space. It's really well known because it served as inspiration for the likes of Pong. So Pong came out shortly after this game. It was released in 1972, meaning Pong was released in 1972. And Pong is known as one of the first, or actually the first, commercially successful video game. This game also, Computer Space specifically, also inspired Space Race, which released in 1973, so a year after Pong.
I'm looking at something really crazy here. Does it look crazy?
It looks like a prototype arcade machine. At least that's what I would describe it as.
What I'm looking at, and maybe I'll throw this in the chat just so we
just so we have context to chat about, yeah.
But this is crazy. This looks like retrofuturism, and it's kind of amazing.
It's super skinny. The one I saw was kind of like weirdly skinny, but then it would pop out to compensate the sort of large TV and then the control panel as well.
Okay, take a look at this. So it's in the Zoom chat here. If it actually sends.
I was gonna say, is your upload failing you today? Because I don't see anything.
Upload was slow today. Yeah.
That's it. Yep. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's insane looking.
And like to me, like it doesn't look super skinny, but like it's pretty skinny and small for the time. At least I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like as you can see, like there's mostly buttons. There's some sort of weird control on there, but like
it looks like a prop from like a 70s sci-fi movie.
It really does,
but it's real.
Yeah.
When you think about how big like computers were in recent memory, right? At that time when it's an entire wall, that seems pretty insane.
It's pretty bizarre. Like when I saw it, I definitely flipped through a few pictures because I was like, that's definitely not it. Like this thing must have been larger, but no, that's not the case. And in fact, I actually saw, maybe it was a modified one, I'm not sure, but I actually saw a skinnier one just on Google Images. I didn't confirm its legitimacy, but that thing looks crazy. Now you might wonder, Pong was the first commercially successful video game. What was the commercial success or lack thereof of Computer Space? So Computer Space sold about 1,000 cabinets by mid 1972, right? Overall, it sold 1,300 to 1,500 units. Now this sounds like a lot. Like this sounds like quite a bit. It's like, whoa, like that's a lot of cabinets to sell. Lots of public places these things are going to go into. Eventually, maybe even arcades if they started coming around at that point. But unfortunately, it did not meet the expectations of the manufacturer, which has a very unfortunate company name called Nutting Associates.
Oh dear.
Which is very unfortunate. However, the game did make $1 million US. Was still considered a disappointment, but this is largely attributed to the fact that Nutting Associates previous product, was a hit. It was called Computer Quiz, and Computer Quiz is also actually an arcade game. However, it's an educational arcade game that was made in 1968, and it presented users with multiple choice questions. And this is why Computer Quiz is not considered the first commercial arcade video game, is because this other one, Computer Quiz, is an educational experience. It's almost like an educational kiosk for the most part. And if we want to compare the, let's say, 1,500 at most ish units that Computer Space sold, Pong's arcade cabinet sold over 8,000 units.
Yeah.
So it's by today's standards, it's like, obviously GTA 5 and many other titles have sold over 1 million units. So 8,000 cabinets doesn't sound like a lot, but this is, in the very beginnings where people didn't know what they were. They were big, heavy, expensive, and probably not going into homes. So it wasn't as consumerized as of yet.
And only like 3 billion people on the planet.
That's kind of crazy, Ryan. That's kind of crazy. But that's it. That's the fun fact for the week. The first arcade video game.
Now, I don't know how many like different arcades came out between Computer Space and Pong. Were they the only ones that were kind of coming out at that time? Because Pong really nailed the arcade cabinet look.
That I don't know. It's a good question. I do know that Pong's arcade cabinet did eventually impact or sort of lead to the creation and selling of its own home console, which is just the Pong home console or whatever the official name of it is.
Right.
So the video game landscape was certainly evolving quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some arcade cabinets that came in between, many of which I'm sure have been lost to history. Like how many of these arcade cabinets have been completely sort of made in someone's garage, tried to be sold, didn't make it, and then just never made it into anyone's like sort of history book.
What's funny is the contrast between the Computer Space cabinet and the Pong cabinet. So Computer Space has that, like I was saying, that retro sci-fi look of the 70s. but then Pong is just the 70s.
Yeah, Pong is just like a wood paneled, like it's like Atari. It's like the Atari 2600 in a way.
Yeah.
Plastic and
Reality
wood.
and expectations. All right, thank you, Matt. That was awesome.
Thank you,
That
Ryan.
was very fascinating.
Thank
I
you,
kinda want
me.
one. I wonder how many are still around and if people are like restoring them or anything.
It's a good question. I mean, I know that obviously arcade or video game preservation's been like a big thing, and also these things are now antiques in their own
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
you're gonna probably get a decent preservation movement going.
Only like
between-
1,000. How many did you say they sold?
They sold 1,000 by mid 1972, and overall the rough numbers are between 1,300 and 1,500.
Yeah, that's not a lot to survive.
But it did make $1 million US, and this is early 70s,
Yeah.
late 60s when it was being made and all that.
Yeah.
And Computer Quiz, like I said, like was a huge hit. So
Mhm. I also just love that to market it, they just put a pretty lady next to it. Just,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's just like technology, woman
Yeah.
in a long white dress.
yeah, she's not playing that arcade game.
Well,
All right.
you know what's crazy is so nowadays, if you think about it, if we made a video game product, whether it's literally a video game or a arcade machine or handheld, whatever, we can go to specific places for video games to be sold.
Mhm.
Where would these guys have had to sell it? Do they just appeal to Life magazine? Like what do they do?
Well, no, they were probably sold to bowling alleys, convenience stores,
But how do you find them? And when you're customer seeking, it's like I have this thing called computer space. It would be great for your bowling alley, but
there were probably expos you would go to, and so people looking at for certain things would go to the expo, get handouts. They also send out like catalogs with different things you could buy for your stores and whatnot. So there was different methods like that. I don't think this was sold direct to home. That wasn't really a thing.
No, I don't think it was sold direct to home. I was just thinking too, like if they used like the whole like pretty lady effect, was it in just like
It'd be in some catalog, yeah.
like the retailer's catalog of like I don't know,
Buy
Zellers
this
or
for your
whomever is
restaurant or whatever.
Yeah,
Make some extra cash.
it's a different. I mean, it was a different time for technology, but it was certainly a different time for marketing. Pretty interesting.
I really wish I was alive for that time period because like everything was just so new. And I know technology is still advancing rapidly, but it would just be awesome to own like a computer shop in the late 70s or something because it was just so kind of fascinating. You could build your own PC really, like actually build it, not just buy the components and slap it together.
Well, the stakes were different too, right? Not many people were relying on computers. So if you made somebody a computer and it didn't work, they didn't rely on it. So they would just kind of come in, and I'm sure you'd get the odd irate customer, but it was sort of more chill. Like, hey man, my computer doesn't work. Okay, I'll take a look at it. Where it's not like I need this by tomorrow. I got a report due, and like everyone's freaking out, right? It's the stakes weren't high because no one was relying on these things yet.
You can find some videos on YouTube of like the home of tomorrow, but it's like from the 50s or 60s, and it's surprisingly accurate. There's a lot of like goofy stuff, but there was this one thing where it was like, oh, the wife can go into her like study and go shopping at this computer, and insert her credit card into this thing or whatever. So that thing was kind of interesting. That they predicted that somehow computers would be used for shopping.
Well, sort of like no one wants to do laundry, so it goes from like washing it at the river to washing it at home with a manual machine to then being like, well, no one wants to do manual labor, so then now we're just like washing it with washing machines, and then people are like, well, I don't want to be alerted by just it dinging or whatever, so I want it to tell my phone that it's ready, right? Like it's just it's like the natural evolution of like humans not wanting to do something, and so machines are designed and created around that.
Yeah. It was supposed to give us more free time, and yet we're freaking busier than ever, it seems.
Oh, because now there's just more to do. It's a weird double-edged sword.
No. All right, let's hop into the news stories for the week. First up, Xbox Games Showcase announced for June. This comes to us from IGN. So yeah, they've announced an E3-esque Xbox Games Showcase for June 9th, 2024, with announcements from Xbox Game Studios, Activision Blizzard, and Bethesda, all promised. Revealed on Xbox Wire, the showcase will take place at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK. Though Microsoft didn't say how long it would last, it did share a redacted teaser image for what appears to be the next Call of Duty. However, it will have a dedicated direct immediately after the Xbox Games Showcase. 2024's Call of Duty game is reportedly Black Ops Gulf War, with Treyarch leading development. Microsoft certainly appears confident in the content it's showing off in the additional direct, comparing it to last year's Starfield Direct, which gave a deep dive into Bethesda's sci-fi role-playing game, which arrived in September. And their official post was, "We'll be airing a special deep dive into the next installment of a beloved franchise. We can't say much more, so for now, we'll call it the Xbox Games Showcase, followed by Redacted Direct."
So sorry, just to get this clear in my head, the redacted part is the part that's having like a Starfield-esque thing, or
So it's like a showing directly for one game after their multi-game showcase.
and then there's a Call of Duty one after that.
No. The redacted one is assumedly Call of Duty.
Assumedly okay. I thought it was confirmed Call of Duty, but then we
No.
also had something else redacted because
The image looks very Call of Duty-esque.
damn, because I was gonna say I don't know about you, Tim, but it might be fucking Fable. But
It's not though. No.
damn.
Go. You can look up the image. It is not Fable at all. It's like some wolf patch or something like that.
I'm gonna look it
Yeah,
up, but I'm shaking my head. I'm sad.
Um, Tim, what's your history with Call of Duty, if anything?
Very limited. I used to only play it like locally with friends, split screen, if I'd go to their house. The only Call of Duty I ever bought that like, my brother didn't have or our parents bought for us for Christmas or whatever was the first Modern Warfare, which a lot of people still remember very fondly. I played I also didn't have Xbox Live at the time. I didn't have Xbox Live for like years into the 360's life cycle. So the vast majority of my gaming was the single player modes of multiplayer games. Like it wasn't until kind of like, Halo 3 was well into its life that I even got Xbox Live to play Halo 3 online, and then I played the crap out of Reach online, but Call of Duty I never kept going with. I don't really know specifically why. It just didn't, I guess it didn't appeal to me as much as like other shooters like Halo. And I didn't live in the kind of house where like you would get 3 games for your birthday and then 3 games for Christmas and all this stuff. Like if I got one game, it was a big deal. So I had to make my wish list count.
Right.
And then I had friends whose houses I'd go to and I'd just play games there anyway. So
I put the post in the Zoom chat there if you want to take a look at it. That is definitely not Fable. I think that's the Capitol building in the background there.
That's most definitely Call of Duty.
Yeah. But Matt, you have a rocky kind of history, I guess, with Call of Duty. But does this excite you at all? Are you interested in it all?
I mean, I'm interested in like the fact that it's a historical one. I don't really know much about the Gulf War, sure, but it's something weird happens to me with Call of Duty where I start playing it and usually it's campaign, and then I'm like, well, let me just try that multiplayer stuff. And if anyone else is playing multiplayer, that single player campaign gets dropped off so fast. I just don't return to it, and I'm just fully into the online. And then basically what happens is I play it until the meta changes enough that I get pissed off, and then I stop playing it and sometimes skip the next COD. That's kind of seemingly the rotation I go with.
Well, let's talk about some other games they might announce at the showcase. Starfield, they talked about how it would, they had its own direct last year. Shattered Space, I think, is coming out
In the fall.
In the fall. Do you think we'll see some of that?
Yeah, I think they have to show something. To be honest, I think they're probably going to show a Fallout 76-esque roadmap for Starfield, because Starfield's in this weird place where they acknowledged they needed to patch it, fix it up. So they started patching it, and then like, at least to me this was weird. They kept patching things in, like better lighting, better performance, better this, and it's okay, like where's the actual gameplay changes? And then they talked about Shattered Space in some form or another. I think it was a Todd Howard interview or something. They talked about Shattered Space recently, and then the latest patch notes and patch reveal, I suppose, for Starfield shows off some gameplay changes, like shows off surface maps that are actually good. Like, thank you. Like, seriously, like how shitty were those surface maps? Like, that's good that those are, and like, so I feel like updates like that affect the game that is Starfield are right now kind of buried. And if they are planning on doing a lot of fixes, which I believe they are, they have to show that off here, I would say.
It's interesting that the maps weren't in the game to begin with, because playing the game, it's so obvious that you kind of need a map. You know what I mean?
I got used to it without a map, and you do kind of have a map. So like the surface map when you're on the sort of procedurally generated planets was just sort of like a dot array, and if there was a cave to your left and a castle to your right, and then a person in front of you, there would be those three icons kind of
On the
like
compass? Was it on the compass?
it was on the compass. It was on the compass, but it was also on the surface map. Like there was a surface map,
Hmm.
but it just wasn't very distinguishing. It was just like this sort of dot array, sort of almost sci-fi visual effect. It wasn't like, oh, there's a mountain, there's a river, there's this, there's that.
Yeah.
Now that is the case, and it looked like from the screenshots I saw, and I believe there's video of it that I haven't seen. It looked like the surface maps were 3D,
Yeah.
especially for the city. So, which is cool. So, because like Aquila City is like pretty big, and I keep like going down the wrong row of houses looking for crap.
But if you remember too, like we couldn't find our apartment on Aquila City. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so it's
I
so
couldn't
bizarre.
I couldn't find like the ammo place to buy more ammo. They told me to go to some like cafe, and I'm like, I don't live here. I don't know where the cafe is. I need a map, and I don't know if there was in-world directions. There probably was some sort of directory kind of thing, maybe, or at least signs pointing you. But it's still very difficult to find your way around. I'm just surprised that wasn't caught earlier on, and maybe it was. I mean, maybe they've been working on the maps this long. Maybe it takes them a long time to get them in, but they really needed the game to ship. I don't know.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day is, if you were to purchase, let's go back to like Oblivion. In Oblivion, you can purchase a house in most of the cities in the game. And the houses are of various sort of prowess and size, and some are shacks, some are mansions, etc. But let's say you purchase one of the more well-known ones, which is Benirius Manor in Anvil. Let's say you purchase Benirius Manor and you own it. There is nothing in the game telling you after you've purchased it, and in that particular, in Benirius Manor's particular case, there's a quest there. So once you've done the quest in that, if you forget that you bought that house and you forget where Benirius Manor is, like you've lost your house.
Mm.
And what's interesting is, like in Starfield, it happens, and I'm like, man, why isn't there something telling me where my house is? But then I got to thinking about, just the Oblivion thing that I just described. But then I also thought, like, no, like I'm not in the wrong here, because Starfield's so fucking big. I don't know where the hell I live.
Yeah.
Like something's got to take me there. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Let's something else that could probably be announced is Avowed, because I think it's releasing in the fall as well. Last I saw of Avowed, it actually turned me from not being interested back to interested.
Yep.
I think you said the same thing too, Tim. Last time we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to see more, or where are you at with that?
It's for me, it's like an idle curiosity. I would say like I haven't been too wowed by it
Yeah.
in the same way that I've been wowed by like other projects in recent memory. But like it's probably going to be one of those things where if I see it, I'll be like, oh, okay, great. Like last time I saw something on this, it was really positive. But on the flip side, if I don't see anything, it's like it would be one of those games where it would probably come out, and then I'd be like months later, I'd be like, oh, that game came out. I totally forgot about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like idle curiosity, but at the same time, I'm not going out of my way for it, kind of thing.
But one of the good things is like you have Game Pass, right?
Yeah, yep.
It'll be day one on Game Pass, so that's
That's
incentive to at least like maybe try it near launch.
It's honestly been such a like I can't believe that it's as like I feel like a shill for Microsoft, but I can't believe it's as good value as it actually is. Like when you genuinely can't afford to like buy all the games that are coming out now, and half of them are coming to Game Pass, it's just like it was absolutely the best move that Microsoft could have made, was like investing so much to Game Pass and getting as many games onto it as they have.
I'm still a little worried about it, just because now they know the numbers. They're watching the numbers, but I just don't see how you sell what is normally a $90 Canadian game and just keep pumping those into Game Pass at the same subscription price.
Mhm.
Now, I guess the argument would be that I have not stopped paying for Game Pass since it launched. So
Yep.
I've probably paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars into it already.
And
I
if
did
it's
used
like-
to have Ultimate, but I just went down to PC after a certain point.
But if you play, like if you were into Starfield and you wanted to do everything in Starfield, that's a big RPG,
Mhm.
and that might be 3 months, let's say, or more, obviously, depending on your schedule and how much you play it. And so if that's your main game, I mean, how many other Game Pass games are you really playing? Maybe one multiplayer title
Yeah.
something like that. So at the end of the day, they are getting, their $80-$90 because not only are you paying on an ongoing basis, but and I guess you pay a little bit less because you said you went down to just PC. But for me, it's like 15 or some odd a month or something
Yeah.
like that for Ultimate. But even me, like I save hundreds of dollars a year, like possibly $1,000 a year is honestly what I save.
Well, like, because I also have Game Pass PC, but you got to consider like you can also they can make money off of DLC and stuff. Like they can give the game, but then you got to buy the DLC. Like I've put hundreds of hours into Remnant 2, which was just on Game Pass, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So there's that value for me. Like further to the point that you're making, Matt, about spending all your time with like a big RPG, and then making money off the DLC. And like, yeah, it's not a ton of cash. Like it's fairly cheap for that particular example, but it adds up with a bunch of users, right?
Yeah. And PC Game Pass is $12 a month. Is this? Yeah, it's Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
So at 12 months a year, that's $144. So as long as they, I guess they're launching a couple first party games, but that doesn't mean I'm going to play them, So it's still a little too good, I think.
You think the hat's going to drop at some point where they're going to be like, we got to reel in this value?
I think once their subscriber numbers start to slow, like new subscribers start to slow down, they will then start jacking the price up. I mean, it's happened in every subscription service that we own. Every single one of them has gone up in price. Netflix used to be $8 a month. Now it's like 15 or something, whatever it is, right? So it is inevitable that Game Pass will go up. It's just a matter of time. They just right now they want to get as many people on it as possible, so to keep them in and then do $1
on it,
every
Yeah, but like you said, right? Like Matt said, I mean, you're probably out the majority case where you're saving $1,000, where people are saving $1,000 a year. But yeah, they'd have to jack the price up a lot for it to suddenly not really be worth it anymore. At least for me, and definitely according to your numbers, Matt.
Yeah, I just looked it up here. It's actually $18.99 a month in Canada. I think I originally had signed up for $15.99. And again, that's Canadian dollars for Ultimate. Yeah. So subscription continues automatically after this trial. Is a trial offer on this page. $18.99 a month. And honestly, like if it was $30 a month, I would still be saving money.
I was just going to bring that up, that I've heard other people say like, yeah, I would pay like $15-$20 a month. And I'm like, don't tell Microsoft that. They'll
don't tell them how much you would pay.
Yeah. No, well, I would pay $10.
Yeah,
I've said for years,
pretend like this is not acceptable. Yeah.
I've said for years, like they should, if they sold like a $200 a month subscription to everything they have, give me Windows and never ask me for a fucking license key again. Give me Windows, give me Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Give me everything that you have, all your software,
Office
everything.
365, you said, yeah.
Like everything, like absolutely everything. Microsoft 365, the cloud storage, like give me the whole pack. I would pay that because I use the shit out of it. So I would still probably come out on top. It's like what subscription went up in Canada for the first time in a long time a couple years ago? Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime went up and like Adriana was like, I'm not willing to pay the 110. I was like, man, I'm not paying $8 to ship stuff anymore. Like it's just not going to happen. Like I'm just.
But neither is he, because he just banks his purchases until he has gone over the threshold, and then you then get free shipping. Now,
there's ways around it.
He's not getting like 2-day shipping, or in some cases 1-day shipping, but
or like 8 hours, which I've seen.
Yeah. I do have Apple One subscription, but there's tiers of that too. I don't have the one that includes Apple Fitness Plus. I'm not using Apple Fitness Plus right now, but Apple has a overall all our services in one bundle kind of deal, and you do save money by doing it that way too.
Yeah,
if you use them.
You just have to use it. Like I think like subscription costs going up sucks. Like there's no doubt. But I think the number one thing that sucks about them is that if you don't use it a lot, like a streaming service, it really sucks because I can only watch like a couple of shows, right? Like I'm watching The Wire currently. I had to put that on pause to watch Fallout. I don't have like another day of the week where I suddenly can watch Fallout and then I can also continue watching The Wire. So it sucks when you have 3-4 streaming services and then one of them goes up. Absolutely. But in terms of like a subscription of any kind that you use a bunch, I'm more than happy because I mean, I want those updates. I want to support it. And I also, the big thing for me is I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to see any pop-ups. I don't want you to tell me, hey, sign up for more. I already have. Now just leave me alone.
Ads piss me off and I will pay to get rid of ads. YouTube Premium is one of the best subscriptions I have just because it gets rid of the ads.
Too much time savings, man.
And I've seen YouTube with the ads nowadays. It's horrible. It's really horrible. I don't know how people survive on the free one. It's just
Well, you make do with what you got, right?
yeah, and
But
it's an expensive subscription too.
it was funny too because when I first got YouTube Premium, or when I first heard about YouTube Premium, saw how expensive it was, I was like, holy cow, like how can I possibly like justify this? But at the time, the vast majority of my like content consumption was YouTube.
Hmm.
So like I wasn't really watching TV. Like I'm not going out, to the bars and stuff. I don't smoke. I don't drink a lot, you know. So I'm like, it's like my one vice
Vice,
that I
yeah,
allow is like how much YouTube I was watching at the time. Like I
yeah.
don't watch as much like now as I used to, but like it's still worth it. And like even to the point where like Kayla watches a lot of YouTube as well. Like she watches live streams and she watches a ton of content. And it got to the point where she like I would be watching or like, I would watch YouTube and I wouldn't get ads. And then we would go downstairs to like watch something on the TV or she's like watching a stream on the TV or something and she signed in on her account and we're just getting ads and ads and ads. And I'm
Mm.
like, man, why don't you sign in with my YouTube account? And
Yeah.
she's like, oh, because then I'll like screw up all your YouTube recommendations and stuff. I'll screw up your algorithm. And I was like, the family plan is not that much more a month. I'm just gonna buy the family plan. And
Yeah,
then and now she doesn't have, ads either.
yeah.
So it's like it's definitely a luxury that we have become very accustomed to.
Hmm. Back to the showcase here. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle I think we'll probably get a gameplay trailer of sorts for that. I think that's supposed to release this year as well.
Dude,
Uh,
my childhood self would be so fucking like psyched to know that there's like an action puzzle platformer Indiana Jones game coming out
and probably a decent one.
and like probably fairly good too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
Not that I didn't. I played one of the older ones on PS2, and I thought it was awesome. But
Oh man.
I don't know if it's still good by today's standards.
I played this like it was almost like a flash game. It was like pixel art and it was top down like Pokemon with like little like square characters and like the old like chibi characters the old Pokemon games used to have. It was like top down. It was a puzzle game and it was the Indiana Jones game. And I cannot for the life of me find what this game was called. My only exposure to it was that I went to a friend of a friend's place as a kid. And on their computer, they had this like Indiana Jones game that wouldn't even like open up in a full window. It was like a window on your computer screen, like Minesweeper, and it was just this little like square, based cell based game of Indiana Jones. And we were young enough that we like didn't really understand the concept of the game, and so we couldn't really like make any progress in it. But it's just been one of those things that I'm like, this game is out there, it exists, and it's like my first exposure to like an Indiana Jones, first and only really
Hmm.
experience with an Indiana Jones video game. So this is leagues beyond that.
Yeah. Also, could get a Halo Infinite reveal, a new update, I guess. I don't know what's going on with that. Something's weird about Halo. It feels elsewhere. It doesn't feel like it's a part of the normal gaming industry. It's very bizarre. I don't know what's going on over there.
Halo is like Master Chief in that ship, just adrift in space,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
waiting to be woken up.
yeah. Obviously, Call of Duty we're talking about. Gears 6 could be revealed. It's been a long time since we heard anything from the Gears franchise.
I'd say it's probably time because
Yeah,
5 was well received, right?
yeah, people liked 5.
Oh, it was good. That was all right. I mind it. I mean, they're all kind of good.
Yeah, I
Although
don't
Matt,
I
you
don't have
hate
any
Judgment,
major
right?
problems. I don't have any major problems with any Gears game. Like Judgment kind of sucks because it's more like a Call of Duty game than it is a Gears game. Like the core of Gears is there, or rather like most of the gameplay is there, but the multiplayer being like COG v COG or COG v whatever the Russian guys were, I can't remember.
Oh, the UIR.
The UIR, but without Locust and stuff. It was bizarre. It was strange.
That's weird.
It felt tone deaf. And there was no downing. Like it's like half of the mechanic of online Gears is like downing enemies and then finishing them off kind of thing. So it was just very run and gun Call of Duty style, like just do enough damage to down them and they're straight dead immediately.
Mm.
So it definitely took like an adjustment period, especially after how much of Gears 3 I had played. But it was really nice in Gears 4 when it went back to like the core experience that people expect from Gears of War.
All right, that's it for the. Oh, sorry, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I think Judgment was made by people that made Outriders as well, right? Like that's why Judgment's different because like even the campaign
It
has
wasn't
that.
the core team, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they. Oh yeah, it is. It's people can fly.
Yep.
Oh,
And to be honest, like having played Judgment and Outriders definitely feels like Judgment in terms of the aiming and stuff.
it does. That's why it has the cover-based shooting, eh?
Yeah, and I mean I did like one thing at Judgment. I liked that, and I know that people do not like this, but I liked that you pressed Y to just swap your guns. I don't really like them on the directionals.
Oh, that's true. I forgot it wasn't on the D-pad anymore.
More like Call of Duty, it seems.
Yeah, a little bit. And also I liked the story based when you testify and you can say like, oh, you tell your side of the story like, oh, the locust gassed us, and then if you do that, you're like accepting a challenge where the map is going to be all gassed out.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. It was like the almost telling your own story, and it's like it's Baird, so he could say any fucking shit, and like they would just and then just be able to justify it, right? So and they would just eat it up. So that was true. That was pretty cool. Like there were some good ideas. It's just like when you're so used to the particular gameplay style of Gears of War, it was a big departure, but on its own, not a bad game. Just not like when you go into it expecting Gears, you're not getting Gears.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Didn't you have a problem with the spelling of Judgment, Matt?
Yeah, it
there's
should
no
have an
E
E
in
in
it.
there. It's stupid.
It's they're both acceptable spellings of the word.
Yeah.
But it is weird that like anytime I see the word judgment, it always has the second D.
According to Grammarly here, it says that judgment is mostly used in the United States with the E.
Well,
So
I
it's
mean, that would be
probably-
why.
It's an American thing versus like the Commonwealth.
I've also
That's what it will
heard
be.
though that judgment without the E is also used in legal proceedings, and that might be why, because isn't there a legal component? You just said someone testified.
Yeah, he's being court-martialed in the game.
Yeah, so I think that's why it probably doesn't have the E. But anyway, another little fun fact for you right there. You
That
can do
is
a whole
a
episode on that, Matt.
tangentially related to gaming fun fact.
Yeah. All right. Keeping on the Xbox train here. Redfall. Remember Redfall?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Its anniversary has come and gone,
Good.
and those those who bought the $100 edition still await promised DLC.
Oh no.
This is from IGN. So yeah, their anniversary was on May 2nd, 2024, with no word from publisher Bethesda, despite the widely panned game receiving no updates in 6 months, and owners of the $100 edition still awaiting additional content.
Oh, this damn game was being updated. I had no idea.
Well, not for 6 months at least.
That's crazy.
As reported by Kotaku, fans who bought the $100 Bite Back edition of Redfall, despite the base game being available day one at no additional cost on Xbox Game Pass subscribers, were hoping for an announcement regarding their missing downloadable content as an anniversary celebration. No mention came from developer Arcane, Bethesda, or larger owner Xbox. However, leaving November 2023's patch notes as the last communication on this missing content, it said, "We're continuing development of the Hero Pass, and we're excited to share more about Redfall's new heroes and other updates later next year." That's what Arcane said at the time.
Probably at the showcase. I mean, it's kind of decent timing. Like May 2nd is the anniversary. If you want to save some stuff to have at the showcase, I mean, it's just June 9th.
The Bite Back edition is still available to purchase at full price. It comes with a weapon skin, attachment, and alternative outfits for the 4 main characters alongside the Hero Pass, which promises 2 additional playable characters sometime after launch. Greater Divinity on Reddit said, "Happy Redfall first anniversary. This is half a shitpost because it doesn't seem Bethesda or Arcane or Microsoft had made mention of this milestone anywhere."
Oh,
They're not proud of it.
I remember that day when the reviews came out for that game, and everyone was like, "Oh, the Xbox is done. They need a smash hit next. They're gonna collapse because of this." I'm like, Redfall?
One game.
Yeah.
One game spells the downfall
A
of an
vampire
entire
game is gonna like destroy Xbox?
that'd be super embarrassing.
Bite
I'd be
back.
super embarrassed.
Or like Microsoft bites the dust.
Ner.
I do wonder what's going on, though. It is surprising that it doesn't seem like anything is happening. No updates. They didn't even mention the 1-year anniversary.
Dead game.
Maybe it's a dead game.
Dead game. Isn't it multiplayer focused?
Yeah,
Like PvP or is it PvE?
PvE, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
It was supposed to kind of be like a vampire Left 4 Dead,
Like
kind
Left 4
of deal,
Dead.
right?
Yeah.
Or at least that's the vibe I got from the trailers.
Yeah,
The
Left 4
vibe
Dead
I
but
got
open
was
world,
that they
right?
had that stupid trope where the fucking every character had to be quirky and like this is my personality and I'm all about being this.
It kind of had that. That first trailer was totally that,
Oh,
and I think
God.
I remember you mentioning that
Throw
after
me
that
at the
trailer came out.
wall. Oh,
Well, maybe they're
You don't
quirky.
need it.
Man. I don't know. Maybe they're
you don't need it. It's falls so flat. It's like
unless you
it's
nail
some-
it. If you
it's some
nail it, it's
weird-
awesome.
But here's the thing though, is like it used to be good in like the Borderlands 2 era. Like that lol XD random quirky humor was like millennials loved it. Zoomers do not love it. They find it's the cringiest shit. And now
Well, I
like
find it
we're
cringy,
older
too.
millennials and we don't like it anymore. Like it had its time in pop culture and it's gone. And that's fine.
Borderlands 3 is very eye rolly now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like it was good at the time, and we can let it die. But it's almost like there's a bunch of millennials now working in game dev that like liked Borderlands, like that quirky, like, oh, I'm the quirky character, kind of like character trope, and now they're like making every character like that. But
I think it's a risk and reward type of situation though, because if you do nail a actual likable quirky character, it's really fun. Something like Guardians of the Galaxies works really well.
But you can
'cause they
only
nailed
have one in the cast.
You can't all be quirky,
You can't all be the quirky one. You can only have one, and they have to not be in your face about it.
but they're friends. I mean, they only made friends with quirky friends.
I mean, yeah, in the real world, yeah, that's likely what it would be like. But God, it just reminds me of like the Saints Row reboot too, where it's also super cringy, like
Weren't they all just dull?
dialogue. Oh, it makes no sense. I mean, and to be fair though, half of that is just bad writing. Like you can have the good like quirky character, like
Well,
you
it's
say.
hard to act that too.
I think they just like, yeah, you just
Unless
need to
they're
have the right
naturally
actor
that.
and good writing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Like-
my TED talk.
I don't know if you would call it quirky, but I think Ella Purnell does a pretty good job as Lucy in the Fallout show. That's a pretty good characterization of a kind of plucky, kind of, doe-eyed,
Lucky, I think
optimistic.
is a good word for it. I think it's a completely different character type than the quirky comic relief. Like her funny moments are not really. I don't get the sense that they were supposed to be like in your face, intentional funny moments. It's just the parts
Mhm.
where she's like, where she kind of like bucks up and goes okie dokie, and
Yeah.
like the irony of that is the funny part.
My favorite one was what does Moldaver want with you? She steals dads. That was so good.
Ryan, do you remember? This is a random story, but do you remember we went and got gas and that guy kept saying "okie dokie"? We like go up
no.
and I'm like, just fill it up regular, and he's like, "Okie dokie," and he kept asking her questions. He's like, "Do you want this?" I'm like, "Nah, man, okie dokie." Like, okay.
He's a vault dweller. He was a vault dweller.
He's
a
a
vault-
vault dweller.
Yeah.
Years before the show came out, just a fucking vault dweller.
They actually
All right,
hired
well-
him. He was an extra in one of the vaults.
Hey.
Little effect.
I don't know if we're gonna see anything from Redfall at that June event. I think they just wanted to go away quietly.
You asked for it, and we're delivering. Redfall 2 coming 2025.
Another $100 for your
Yeah,
Oh,
$100
no.
right now.
your bite back edition 2
Two bite, two back.
again. Yeah. And this time it's personal.
It's always personal. It was
Yeah.
personal to begin with.
Check out our quirky characters.
No, they don't even have them like say anything. They just say, "Check out our quirky characters." Look how quirky this character is.
All right.
Aren't you all quirked up?
What was
All
that? mean?
right. Our final story. Square Enix is rethinking how it approaches games, and it's coming at a huge cost. This is from GameSpot. Square Enix has announced that it expects to lose $140 million in content abandonment losses for the fiscal year, which ended on March 31st, 2024. According to a new financial report, the Square Enix board of directors met at the end of March to discuss how to move forward with game development. Square Enix has reaffirmed its stance on being more selective about which games to develop. Upon close examination of Square Enix's current development pipelines, it seems like there have been several projects canceled and will result in a 22.1 billion yen or $140 million loss as a result of abandoning them. Square Enix did not name or reveal which ones were canceled. Square Enix has always kind of been an odd company. I don't know what their development costs are, but they've never been satisfied with selling millions of copies of games.
Yeah, wasn't there a Final Fantasy game that came out was like a huge success, and they said it was still a failure?
Well, I think
From,
some
like, their
were
estimations.
yeah. Some recent ones have been failures. I don't know confirmed failures, but we think they are. I don't think Final Fantasy 16 was received all that well. And then there's speculation that Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, the sequel to Remake, has not been performing as well as they would have liked.
I think
'cause-
that's just to be expected because they seem to think that every game they release needs to make $100 million, and then it
Well-
still is like a breakout success of 65 million. And they're like, it's garbage.
there are certain conditions that. So Final Fantasy 7 Remake was huge.
Yeah.
They announced how many copies they sold and stuff. They were celebrating it, but it was like during the pandemic.
Mm.
It was on PS4. I don't think this new one is. Rebirth is not on PS4,
No, I don't think so.
so they're missing a big chunk there. And then I don't know. I was talking to Matt. I'm like, it just feels like there's too much Final Fantasy right now. You just had 16. You have 14 still going. Then you have 7 Rebirth, which was a follow up to the remake, which had DLC expansion. And then you had that Paradise one, I forget, something to Paradise, which was like a prequel to the original game. There's just a lot of Final Fantasy going on, and I don't know. Maybe they're wearing it thin.
I mean, unless you're a really, really big Final Fantasy fan, though, you're not going to be playing all of it.
Yeah, I was telling Matt though, I'm not even like a big fan of Final Fantasy. I just kind of play it because it is a major franchise.
Curiosity about why it's so popular, kind of thing.
Yeah, but they're definitely not my type of RPG.
Mm.
And I'm trying to get through Rebirth, and I stopped playing it, and then got Fallout Fever, and then haven't really touched Final Fantasy since that.
I'm surprised that you did more than one Final Fantasy because you did that one in the car, didn't you?
What was that? 13?
That sounds right.
That's 15.
Oh, 13 was Lightning. Yeah, 15.
So you did that one, right? You did the one in the car.
Yeah, that was my first Final Fantasy.
I think so because we were shocked that you beat it.
I had tried 13 back in the day, couldn't get through it. But 15 was the first one I completed, and then I also played 7 remake.
13 was the first one that I had seen where it was like the pseudo turn-based real-time combat where you're running around in real time, but you can only use your abilities on like a timer, like on a cooldown. So it's like sort of turn-based in that sense.
Yeah,
which I thought was like super cool at the time. And I mean, I wasn't even a big Final Fantasy fan, but I was just like, that's a really interesting way to do it. And I still hadn't played a Final Fantasy game until 7 Remake.
Which you liked, right?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah.
All right.
I think the only way that you do really like it, just as a really quick point, is if you didn't play the original one. Because apparently there's lots of stuff that's like really good about the original that they either changed or just did completely differently in Remake because it's like a modern game. And people are like, why isn't it exactly the same as it was back in 1998? It's like, well, I wonder why.
But the original still exists, and there's like a PS4 copy of it. You can still play it.
Whenever you make a remake, though, you have to understand that you're going to have two camps. You're going to have people that want a modernized version of a game, a universe, a story, whatever that they love. And you're going to have the other camp that is, it has to be exactly the same gameplay with better graphics. And you can't appease both, right?
Unless you did like a Demon's Souls type of remake where it is the exact thing but with better graphics. But the Final Fantasy VII, the original one, was completely different.
Yeah.
So alrighty, that's it for the news. Matt, are you playing Computer Space this week?
What did you just say? What did you just say? My name was super weird. It's like, that's it for the news, Matt.
No, I'm asking you, what did you play this week? And was it Computer Space?
It was not Computer Space. Tim and I actually got a fair bit done in Remnant 2. I know we're streaming that as well, but we are in an apocalypse game, and to my surprise, our builds are working rather well. We're not getting stuck for too long. I'm sure that'll change with this next bit, but we're in Root Earth, which is the final zone in the base game / the campaign. So I'm very surprised and pleasantly surprised, to be honwe're kind of really ripped through it too. Like we did some of the dungeons. You can get through the
game really fast if you skip dungeons.
That's true. But I just thought we would get stuck on stuff for hours. I thought it was going to be like a Millennia situation where like you and I did 2 or 3 sessions to beat her. And so like I'm just surprised
we're bad though.
I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with being bad at Elden Ring. That game kicked my ass. I also got a ridiculous selfie of us in that Millennia fight as well. Isn't that one where I'm like up against the screen, sort of like in a pensive kind of thinking thing, and you're just like in the back looking at me? So it was all worth it, is what I'm saying.
No, I got that part.
But other than Remnant, I booted up Starfield, which is unfortunate. Wanted to try
Starfield, which is unfortunate.
I wanted to try the new update, which is not necessarily new to the people, but it was new to me. I heard it was like better for performance and stuff like that, and it was like Aquila City has the worst performance that I've seen in the game so far. And I was actually was in Aquila City when I spawned in. I did some quests there, and yeah, I mean, it performed better, but I did not have any desire to play it for very long, which is unfortunate. There's something I found this quest too. So I was talking about this earlier when we played, or when we were talking about Starfield, like back when it had come out. And I was talking about how Aquila City is this massive city, but 90% of it's useless. There's nothing in the corners, like there's no one running around. And I started kind of going into Aquila City more lately. And I keep finding quests now in the corners and in the stuff. So it's like, okay, like starting to find stuff. Whether this is stuff that's specifically because I'm on New Game Plus, I don't know, but I never found it before. And I did this quest, and this is what made me turn it off was, and this is a spoiler for like a random side quest. This lady is complaining about how her husband or her, I think it's her husband, a little sketchy on the details, but they run this business and they could be doing something like called like eco wheat or something like that and making a whole bunch of money. But he wants to sort of like use the crops to make beer, and it's his passion. It's a passion project and blah, blah, blah. And so you talk to her and she wants the money. Like she wants you to ruin her husband's dream in order to get like their status up. So I'm a scoundrel in the game and I don't care about her husband's dream. So I'm like, sure, I'll ruin his dream. So they're like, well, you need to sneak into this facility and do it. And I was like, okay. So I walk over and I notice that the dot for my mission marker is on what I think is a door. So I just use my jetpack real quick. It's right beside their house. And I jetpack over a fence and I'm just at the brewery. Like I'm inside of it and I press A on the machine. I spoil the beer. I jetpack out of there. I never saw a guard. They kept saying like, watch out for the guard. I never saw the guard. I never saw anyone. It says wait 24 hours. You wait 24 hours. You go to the bar. The bar says this beer tastes terrible. We don't want to like have it anymore. You go back and talk to her. She gives you $2,500 and 50 experience. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this damn quest was more talking, and there was like no gameplay to this. And also like, why the fuck wasn't the brewery like hidden in a building where there's a few guards and stuff? Why is it just out in the overworld? And then I stopped playing the game promptly. I just kind of didn't care after that. But yeah, it's just a fucking weird game. Every time I play it, I just keep finding more and more weird things. Other than that, what else I've been doing? I've been doing 76. We've been doing the season. Fallout Fever in full effect. Pretty fun. I'm waiting patiently, I suppose, for the new update, which is coming to add more to the map, add a new storyline, including some like really critical lore about Vault-Tec, which is cool, especially on the coattails of the show. So that's pretty cool. I think that's it, though. Oh, also, I guess so. And like, this is more of a question for you guys, but like Bethesda updated the game, meaning Fallout 4, to allow for like next gen, right? It's like the next gen update.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like some confusion as to who were to get it, who's to get it. So I have Fallout 4 on disc, but I didn't put my disc in. The version I play is the digital version because I got it as a part of the PlayStation Plus collection for owning a PS5. I claim the game, whatever. I play it through that license. And then Bethesda said, like, don't worry, like PS Plus users will get the game, like we'll get the update. And then, you know, days go by and it was like unclear. It's like, okay, like we will get it. Like what's going to happen? They then say it's for PS Plus extra people, like the sort of Game Pass version of PlayStation Plus. So it's like, oh, yeah. Okay. And then it's like, and the people who are on PlayStation Plus collection will not get it. Then I read an article yesterday that said PlayStation Plus collection is supposed to get it. And in fact, many players already have it. So then I went onto the app and tried to claim it and I had to pay for it. So I don't know what the fuck is happening. Like, I feel like, again, like this should have been just another version. I know we've made fun of Skyrim to death, where it's like special edition, anniversary edition, etc. I feel like they should have released another edition because this is super confusing. But anyway, that's my spiel on Fallout 4. I don't know if you guys have seen that or heard that or what version you're using, Ryan, if you have the update, but weird.
Well, did I play that game on disc? That was a PS4 game, right?
Yeah, 2015.
Did I buy it on disc? I honestly can't remember, but I had the digital version somehow on my PlayStation, so I just activated the upgrade and it just worked. I had no issues.
To get the upgrade, did you just go to the PlayStation 5 version and you could just download it?
Yeah, so I searched like Fallout 4, went to the PS4 version, and then there's like those three dots, and I clicked on that, and you could select your copy, and it said PS5. I clicked on that. There was an upgrade button. I clicked upgrade, activated it, done.
Maybe I'll check it. Maybe I'll check it again.
It was clunky. I wish they just kind of removed all other versions other than the new version, since that update's free anyway. You know, if it's on someone's account, just give them the PS5 version. Who cares? You know what I mean?
I feel like it was the smoothest on Xbox and PC, but it was also sort of like under the radar a bit. Like I would love to know how many people are just playing this game with no mods or anything. They're just playing this game. It gets updated and they're like, yeah, it got updated. And they're not completely unaware that it was like a next gen update and yada yada. They're just sort of like, yay, my game runs better now or worse or whatever the case may be. And then they just continued to play. There was no like release like a Skyrim special edition. Weird.
There's already mods to remove the update as well.
That's so you can use mods again, right?
I think so, yeah. But that's just ridiculous.
Tragic.
All right. Tim, what are you playing?
For the whole just last week, honestly, it's been pretty well Remnant occasionally with Matt and Fallout New Vegas because of the Fallout Fever, of course. I've sort of been doing a playthrough where I'm kind of making the decisions I don't normally make because I've played Fallout New Vegas so many times. I just end up playing like what is the best way in my mind every time. So it's been fun to like see what happens when you do storylines a different way, make different choices or choices that you know are like not don't lead to like, you know, good outcomes of other quest lines kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to stir the pot. It's been an unintentionally like quite chaotic playthrough. Just because of like pissing off certain factions that you would otherwise ally with and things like that. And just seeing the way that you interact with the world in that way and being forced to make different decisions. It's a lot of fun. But the biggest thing, the biggest overall goal that I had was that I took the cannibal perk as early as possible.
Oh, nice.
Mostly just because I wanted the like occasional dialogue options that it gives you, because there are a couple. But the overall goal of the playthrough became to get the secret perk in the game, which is only or one of the secret perks, which is only available if you have the cannibal perk, which is called the Meat of Champions, where you have to. It's a like challenge in the game that gives you a perk when you complete it, and that is to cannibalize the King in Freeside, Mr. House, Caesar, and President Kimball. And so basically, like my entire playthrough was just getting myself into positions where I could like eat these people.
Jesus
And
Christ.
coincidentally enough, I did just like finish that today. That I got the perk. And the best part is it's really not a very good perk.
What's it give you?
It gives you a +1 bonus to your charisma, intelligence, strength, and luck for 1 minute after cannibalizing a corpse.
Oh, if it was full time, I was going to say it wasn't that amazing, and it's even worse now.
Yeah. So it's really not very good. But it is just a funky little thing that's in the game, and it's not super secret. Like when you're like in the Pip-Boy and you're looking through the challenges that are in the game, like it's just there. It just tells you like, you know, cannibalize these 4 people, and it's a challenge you get experience for it. And then you also, it doesn't tell you that you get the perk, but you do also get the perk for doing it. But it was just such a like wacky thing that I was like, I'm never gonna do this otherwise. Like I may as well do it this playthrough. And it's been weird because I was like siding with the NCR in the beginning, and then I started to side with Caesar's Legion because I was like, the best way to be able to like eat Caesar as early as possible without like trying to take out the entire fort, which would be really hard, is to earn his trust until you get to the part in his quest line where he like is in bed with like having in basically a coma, and you have to do the whole like medical procedure for him. And then having my medicine skill be high enough that I could have the machine kill him and then convince the rest of the Caesar's Legion that it was just a medical accident and he was too old. Because I'm also doing a like no charisma, no speech playthrough.
Oh, God.
Because if you have high speech in New Vegas, you can pretty well talk your way through every encounter, which I love about the game. It's really cool, but it really is a like sort of like perfect solution for everything kind of tool. So it's been really fun, especially seeing like for all the speech checks that you have to make in the game. If you have the speech requirement to make the check, your character, like the dialogue option that you choose is like making a convincing argument, and it'll be, you know, written logically enough or whatever. But if you don't have the speech requirement to make the speech check, it's always a like really poorly worded argument kind of thing. Like it's a completely different prompt you can select in the dialogue box.
That's pretty cool.
And largely it just comes down to like the character kind of like stumbling over their words, or it's like, oh, you know, why should I let you live? And it'll just be like, you know, speech check 30 and I have like 12. So it's like, because I'm a really nice person, or just like something like that. Like Um, so it's been funny and like low speech, low barter. Just it's been the playthrough of like not having the perks or special stats or speech or barter to make dialogue checks. So a lot of encounters come down to like basically a bunch of people dying because I can't convince them to not fight. But it's pretty great because there was a point. Oh, and I was also doing melee weapons instead of guns. So it's like leading away from like everything that you normally play New Vegas for. And there was a point where I was running around with a chainsaw as like my primary weapon, and I'm a cannibal. And I was like, I'm just the villain of a horror movie. Like I'm a cannibal chainsaw wielding mass murderer who rips people apart and then eats them after they're dead.
God.
And has no charisma. I'm running around with Lily, the super mutant, as my companion. Like it's just a psycho playthrough. And I'm really keen to see at the end what the like slideshow at the end says everything came to, because I'm never gonna get that slideshow again.
Where are these challenges? I forget if you said they're in the Pip-Boy. Is it a mod?
No, it's like it's stuff was added with the different DLCs, and then there was also like the Gunrunner's Arsenal added some challenges too. I think it's under like the data tab. Like you have your stats tab, your items tab, and your data tab. And then if you go to like miscellaneous, there's a little prompt in the top right that says challenges. And if you click that, then it lists uh a bunch of different challenges that are in the game. Because I don't recall if Fallout 3 had challenges, but it was just little things in New Vegas that like you can do to um get more experience. And like you would have done dozens of them in a normal playthrough, because it's stuff like do enough damage with guns, do enough damage with explosives, do enough damage with melee weapons, get X number of kills against animals, X number of kill against like mutations, X number of people, all kind of stuff, you know. Fire enough bullets, you know. And it's just things that you passively get experience for as you're going through the game. So it's and then it's all listed in your Pip-Boy. So people would have always done them, even if you didn't realize that they were even a thing in the game.
I had no idea. Or I've completely forgotten about them at least.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you ever done, it doesn't sound like it, but have you ever done Cannibal when you've gone to Arafu in 3?
No, I never did the cannibal perk in 3. But that's the place with the vampires, right?
Yeah, the family.
Yep.
And apparently you can like have some unique speech options. Oh no, yeah, you sent me the video on that. You can have some unique speech options and like have a unique way to solve the quest or infiltrate them or whatever the case is.
Yeah, that was a cool video, seeing all the like secret perk speech checks that are in 3 in New Vegas. It's just something that's been so lost, like ever like since 4, like the dialogue being so dumbed down in 4 compared to previous Fallout games. I really miss it. It's a shame in 4 having just the yes, sarcastic yes, more information, or not right now, so
Not right
yes
now.
later.
Yeah. Yeah, the only option I have is not right now and I'll ignore you, or I have to say yes later.
And the only like things that you have like a speech check for are things that are usually just give me more caps.
Yep.
It's only ever like a barter. So yeah, I miss it.
I feel like those days are over already because you're not voiced in Starfield. You're obviously not voiced in 76. But 76 does have some speech options. Like when you do quests, you can absolutely fandangle more caps. You could do stuff. It's definitely more in depth than 4. So yeah.
As for myself, 76. Speaking of, there's apparently a new big update coming out soon, right, man? He said.
Yeah, it's on the PTS right now, or PTR maybe.
So that's kind of exciting. I did boot up Fallout 4, just messed around a bit. I thought it looked pretty nice. Most people are saying they can't notice a difference, but it looks really good to me. Everything looks really sharp. Is running at a good frame rate. Sounds good. Sounds like a sounds like a PS5 version to me. And then like I said, I've been trying to play Final Fantasy Rebirth, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also trying to get more comfortable with letting games go. If they start feeling like work, I should just let them go. Just let them fly away. There goes $80. Goodbye. Yeah, you know.
That's why I use Xbox Game Pass, available for no.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and one cool thing is I bought that or I got that Backbone controller for my phone. I used it to play Fallout 76 in my bed because I was too lazy to go into my living room to do my dailies.
Damn it.
So there you go.
But so what you're saying is it wasn't quite as good as the PlayStation Portal.
I have no idea. It could be as good as the PlayStation Portal. I don't know. But what's nice about Fallout 76 is that yes, it's a shooter, but it's like I use VATS. I have a somewhat of a VATS build. You don't really need, super low latency for that. So it really didn't bother me playing it with using that. So that was good. All right, that's all we got. Tim, where can the good folks find you?
If you want to see Fallout New Vegas for at least another little while, twitch.tv/the sidetrack, where we are always getting distracted with side quests. Man, I went to the Brotherhood of Steel vault or bunker to like destroy the vault. Ended up not being able to like access the terminal to like self-destruct it. That like Caesar wants you to just go and like not even like interface with the Brotherhood, just go in and destroy the bunker. Just that's all he wants you to do. Went in, realized I couldn't really do it because I didn't have the science skill to like interact with the terminal. So I just started like talking with them. Ended up doing pretty well the entire Brotherhood quest line, installing a different guy to be Elder, which I didn't even know you could do.
I didn't know you could do that either.
Getting to the point where they like welcome you into the Brotherhood, and then just getting power armor training, getting power armor, and then just running around with my super sledge killing everybody. And then I didn't even have to destroy the bunker because there was no one left in there to bury.
Oh,
But I am kitted out with armor and weapons now. I got so much money. Man, it's a good deal.
actually, I have a question for you then. So, like in that game has the disguise system where if you're in an NCR Ranger thing, you can and you go toward the Brotherhood, like they're hostile, for example, etc. Like,
Yep.
anyone who's hostile toward NCR, if you dress as NCR, you get shot at, and it goes beyond that. There's like at the end of the NCR, like I think it's the NCR, but it's at the end of one of the faction playlists. Maybe it's the Brotherhood of Steel. There's like a T-51B set in a random ass shack where like a couple of people are like sleeping in. It's like a safe house or something. And there's a random T-51B that's completely unmarked. And I was going to ask you, like, do you have Brotherhood marked T-51B right now? So like if you went to Caesar's Legion, would they shoot at you?
So there is power armor, and then there is also Brotherhood power armor. They give you Brotherhood power armor, but if you go to the like vendor, like the store or the munitions vendor in the Brotherhood bunker, they sell different kinds of power armor that aren't Brotherhood power armor.
Oh,
And so I traded in the Brotherhood armor for just like the more generic armor.
so you don't really do you like the disguise system? Because I hated it.
It's something that I never used until this playthrough. Like I got to the point because my reputations, because I've just been so chaotic all over the place with playing fast and loose with all the different factions. My reputations with everyone are so weird. Like I went into Caesar's Legion, start off they hated me, but I started working with them, and so then I'm like, it gives you I don't even know what the reputation is called, like wild child or something, where you start off negative, but then you start to do good things, and they're not really sure like what to make of you, kind of thing. Or there's like soft-hearted devil, I think is what it is. And then there's some where you start out good and then you start to go bad, and then there's ones where you're just back and forth and they don't really know what to refer to you by. It's really cool how many like different permutations of reputation there are. It's not just like a scale of like high to low. It's like it depends on what way you've done things actually changes out what your like reputation title is with any particular faction. So I have needed to use the like disguise system a little bit.
I completely forgot that like there was also the reputation. Like you could literally piss off like Caesar's Legion, and then they'll just even if you're just in like clothes that aren't marked. I completely forgot that they would just shoot you on sight, or they'd be friendly to you. I mean, I guess that makes sense if you could side with the Legion. They would be friendly to you. Although the whole like dogs and crap is like pretty badly marked. Or actually it's completely unmarked, right? Like if you're in a disguise and you go near a dog, the dog can detect you.
It's the same with certain guards too. Like I was just doing the mission at the Hoover Dam for like the president, and they actually tell you specifically for that one when you're doing it for Caesar's Legion and you're trying to like sneak in, he gives you an NCR Ranger outfit or a like grunt outfit, and he's like stay away from he's like for most of the guards you'll be fine because they won't be able to tell a difference, but he's like stay away from the Rangers because they'll know that you're not one of them.
Oh, okay.
So it does actually give you that like indication of how the mechanic works. But yeah, I absolutely like never used the mechanic until this playthrough. It was just one of those things where like, because like when you play a mostly like good playthrough, I would say, or you're just trying to help like as many people as possible just for the sake of like getting experience and like quests under your belt and stuff and rewards. Everyone's pretty like chill with you because you can kind of like almost everybody is just like anti Caesar's Legion. So if you just ally with any of the factions against Caesar's Legion, they're all like, yeah, fuck Caesar's Legion. Enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing.
Right.
You can kind of be chill with everybody. Except for Caesar's Legion. So that's like I imagine the playthrough that most people typically do. Because the only playthrough that you ever have to like assassinate the president versus the mission where you try to track down the assassin and stop them before they assassinate the president is for Caesar's Legion.
Oh, all right. I'm trying to think there isn't like an assassination. Well, I don't know if they're allied, actually. I was going to say the Great Khans.
The Khans are allied with Caesar's Legion, but you can convince them to swap to NCR support.
Okay.
And you can watch us streaming Remnant, I think, right?
Doing the DLC.
Doing the DLC for Remnant 2 Wednesdays
DLC number 2
at 9 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia. And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.